Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Ka karanga hau ki a Marama
Ai,
Davidson.
tēnā koe te mangai o te whare huri noa ki a mātou katoa. Oh my goodness, so I'm really proud to stand up tonight and support the Residential Tenancies Amendment Bill, which will prohibit letting fees. I'm still a renter, Mr. Speaker, unlike many of the opposition, probably all of the opposition speakers that are standing up tonight to say how bad it is that we are going to be trying to save some of the upfront costs to renters. Over 50% of our country are now renting, but actually for lower income, it's more than that, Mr. Speaker. It's more than 50%. It's getting to 53, 55%. But for Māori and Pacific, it's even more than that. And actually for Pacific people, it's 67% of Pacific people are renting. And also, disabled people are more likely than non-disabled people to be renters. So this is good that we are putting a line in the sand and saying we are going to try and fix some of the mess that the previous national government left behind for us to clean up, especially where it concerns renters, Mr. Speaker. So the fee is typically 1 week's rent plus GST. Do you know how much of a massive upfront barrier that is to the groups I've just talked about? Lower income people, Māori people, including Māori people and Pacific people and people with a disability, already struggling with the rental process in a highly competitive market. Students everywhere, all around our country, already struggling, and then having to pay an extra upfront fee, which absolutely has no criteria around it, no framework around it. It's just what they want to charge, particularly in a competitive market. They can get away with charging because there are so many people trying to find a place to live, a place to put down roots. They're willing to pay a weekly rent. They're willing to look after the property and treat it as their home. And they are simply trying to find a place to live. And the agency, the letting fee that is being charged is for services that will benefit the homeowners, the landlords, the property owners. So it is there that the fee should fall. It is there that the fee should fall. It is for showing people through the house. It is for advertising the property. It is for going through the vetting process for finding tenants. It is for the benefit of the homeowner, and it's not going to be magicked away. No, it is not. It is not. It is still going to be paid. If that is a service that landlords are wanting, then they will shop around and they will have a look at who is offering what, and whether or not they are going to choose you as the agency to find a good tenant for their home. And the good tenants are nearly all of them, by the way. The good tenants are nearly all of us, by the way, who just want a place to put down our roots, look after and call our own. Now, I just want to take a couple of issues with some of these previous speakers' comments, particularly picking up, I think it was Mr. O'Connor, where he said what you really have to look into is making sure that the private market can cater. Well, how did that go? How did that go for you after 9 years? Wait, I know how it went. You had a private enterprise, you did, with motel owners and $50 million paid to motel. That was your rental tenancy agency. $50 million paid to motel owners to put up people who you have to shove away, especially during an election year, because you've got no other place to put them. That's how your private enterprise went, Mr. Speaker. So no, I'm really proud of this. And also, it's just one thing that we are going to keep going on. We are going to introduce other measures alongside this abolition of the tenancy letting fees, because it's not one thing on its own. We absolutely are also going to, in this term, establish a progressive home ownership scheme as part of the Greens' confidence and supply agreement with the government. And all of those other bits of legislation and policies that have to come in alongside abolishing letting fees are what will lead us in whole to a whole better direction, where this country and this government actually believe that providing people with a warm, safe, affordable, secure home is part of our job and is a right that everybody is entitled to in this country. That's the direction we are turning in. We are turning away from the direction which says houses are a business investment. Houses are for speculation. This is the direction that we are turning to. Houses are for homes first and foremost, for children, for old people, for everybody to be able to have. You can go to school in that community for more than a year. Because, Mr. Speaker, I'm aware that earlier this year, an AUT commissioned research found that 212,000 Kiwis are transient. That's 5.6% of the population, but actually for 4,000 people, they had moved 7 or more times over 3 years, from 2013 to 2016. That's a possible letting fee every time they were moved on from their rental properties. And I was one of those who knew firsthand that you could simply get moved on from a renting property because the market was good time for landlords to put up the rent. And it was easier to put up a rent by a lot more if you just moved someone on. Just move them on so you can charge at least $100 extra. That's another letting fee for the family who have had to move out of that home. For some 4,000 people, they had to find a letting fee possibly up to 7 times over 3 years. This is what the previous government did, and this is what this coalition government are trying to fix. And we are showing that commitment here tonight, putting a line in the sand. We are going to start making lives better for a whole, at least half of the country who are renting, because renting should be a dignified, valid choice for us, and because home ownership is decreasing. And so the choice and having to rent should be a good option, should be a safe, secure, warm, dignified option where tenants are seen as dignified citizens of this country alongside everybody else, whether you own a home or not. This is the direction that this legislation is signalling for us tonight. And I just want to say, is it virtually signalling? Who cares? We're giving people a better chance to get into good rental homes. And we are starting with abolishing rental fees. So whatever labels you want to throw at that, throw all you can, because your record speaks for itself, the previous government. Not you, Mr. Speaker, not you at all. The record of the previous government speaks for itself, and it failed. And this today, as one of the wealthier OECD countries, are having to bear the stigma of having one of the worst homelessness rates in the entire wealthy country selection. And that is a fail. So we're going to fix that. We are going to make sure that renting is a valid, dignified option, Mr. Speaker. We are going to make sure that if people do have to move, that they are not going to be landed with the extra burden of finding a whole nother hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And absolutely, for different parts around the country, it's worse. It's worse for different parts around the country, and that there's no need for that. We don't absolutely need to accept that rents will increase because of abolishing the letting fee. And we have to say at every speech, because they're in denial and because that's their only argument, this opposition over here, their only argument is, oh, rents will increase. So we're going to have to keep batting that back. That is their only argument, though. The overseas international examples have proven that there is no evidence to show that rents will increase. And even in Scotland, only 2% of rents increased immediately after banning letting fees, and our own Treasury has said, yeah, no, other market forces are going to make the difference to rent increases. And this from an opposition that pretend to know about the market. Know about the market. Simple supply and demand will help dictate what increases rents, and we're working on that. We're building more homes, including state homes. Supply and demand are included in the variables of what will increase rents. Stop the alarmist, false calls to rent increases, because we are trying to do something good here. And I'm really proud to stand with my colleagues and support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call Chris Pink.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.